Note that let's reflect that Mr. Clark will be here, but he will be late. At this time, I'd like to ask everybody to please stand as we pledge to the flag.
That big one there.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. At this time, Mrs. Phillips, would you like to make a slight announcement for theater arts?
Yes, our theater arts will be performing Schoolhouse Rock Live Junior on April 31st.
March.
Yeah.
March.
March 31st and April 1st. And so they were unable to join us tonight, but they did put together a video promoting the play, and we hope to see some of you there.
Introducing the 2025-2026 OTSD musical. Schoolhouse Rock Live Junior. Knowledge is power.
The Schoolhouse Rocking, a chip on the block of your favorite Schoolhouse Rock.
Tom is a new teacher who is nervous about his first day. He tries to watch some TV to calm him down when suddenly colorful characters emerge that represent Tom. They use music from Schoolhouse Rock to help Tom feel ready for his first day through the power of imagination, creativity, and fun. Schoolhouse Rock Live Junior will perform for the Prep School on Monday, March 30th. Night performances for families and friends will be held on Tuesday, March 31st and Wednesday, April 1st from 6 to 7:30 p.m.
Good luck to the cast of Schoolhouse Rock Live Junior.
Break away!
perform for their yearly school musical, I would absolutely encourage you to come down and support them for their performances on March 31st and also April 1st. The students really work hard. The dedication of the parents behind them, which couldn't be done without them, and our staff is really remarkable. So we encourage you to come and support our future our actors and actresses and lesbians, and I guarantee you'll have a real great time. At this time, thank you very much, Mr. Slaughter. We'd like to open the public forum. This is for agenda items only, but we're going to need a motion in a second to do that.
Motion?
Mrs. Leaning and Mr. Penn, roll call, please.
Mrs. Fields. Mrs. Leamy.
Yes.
Mr. Penn.
Yes.
Mrs. Susan.
Yes, if you'd like to address the board, please come up to the microphone, state your name and your address for the record, and please note by board policy 0167 is a limit of 5 minutes, and we are asking you to curtail your questions at this time. If there's many, we'll certainly get back to you if that just becomes that you'd like to make. If you'd like to speak, just come up. Oh, okay. Since you see, thank you very much.
Good evening. O'Malley for your food drive. Thank you again for allowing me to speak. There have been rumblings of changes being made next school year, especially regarding class structure and size. And I cannot say that I'm surprised as I attend most board meetings. But it feels awful as a parent and as a community member to be in this spot yet again. I'm hoping that we can address some things that we have heard regarding class sizes tonight, and specifically another staff members that we'll be using and what that means for our students. I'm hoping that we can address all of our options and what steps the board has taken to explore different options. I recognize that they're limited, but at this juncture, I feel like we need to explore each and every option. I recognize that this puts the board in a difficult spot. I know that this is not easy, and as always, I appreciate everybody's commitment to our district and to our students. And I also recognize that this is a state issue, right? And that's what is going to be said tonight. It's a state issue. If you don't like it, complain to the state. That's not getting us anywhere. And the few voices that are complaining to the state aren't enough. And as our elected officials, I believe that the board has a duty to do what's best for our students and our district and our community. So I would like to know what the board is ready to do, whether it's at a local level or with county legislators. But I think there needs to be a step taken, and we can't just keep going back to the, you don't like it, complain to the state. That doesn't cut it anymore. From what I understand, or I've heard, and I won't quote anybody on this because I don't think that's fair, it hasn't been dispensed publicly, but my understanding is that each grade level will be going to 2 classes. So for my daughter's grade, who is currently in a class of 19, that would mean her grade, first grade, would be somewhere between 36 and 37 students. And I'm sure there are some educators here on our board, I know there are, and in our audience, and I definitely know that parents will recognize this as a major issue. But that's unacceptable. Children cannot learn that way. And we already have many students in our district that have faced the issues because of COVID and are behind. Great, we have high impact tutoring that's supposed to offset that, but we're going to yet damage another couple classes of children and alter their ability to learn by not figuring out a way to make this work. And I know that nobody wants to raise taxes, but if we keep looking at what the state's doing, that's not changing. And by continuing to say it's a state law, it's a state law, there has to be either exploration of other options or a change made to ensure that our students get the education that they deserve. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Anybody else? Seeing none, we're going to close the public forum, please. I need a motion and a second.
Motion.
Mr. Hughes?
Second.
And Mr. Tim, to close the public forum, we're now closed. Can we have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Hughes. Yes. Mrs. Leamy. Yes. Mr. Kim.
Yes.
Mrs. Susan.
Yes. Educational community highlights. This Saturday, March 28th, is the PTO-sponsored father-daughter dance. I can tell you from having a daughter myself, and still have it, that it's probably one of the most anticipated moments for all of our young ladies. So thank you to the PTO for sponsoring that. Monday, March 30th, the Theater Arts Club will be performing Schoolhouse Rock Junior for the first students and staff with a main performance on Tuesday, March 31st, and Wednesday, April 1st at 6 p.m. in the all-purpose room. Break a leg to more thespians. And we'd like to thank the Ocean County Health Department for providing presentations to our 5th and 6th grade students throughout the month. Monday, April 6th through Friday, April 10th, our schools will be closed for spring recess and reconvene on Monday, April 13th. So staff, students, families, enjoy your vacation. Thank you for all you do. The next Board of Education meeting will be Thursday, April 16th at 2026. And April 30th, 2026 will be the public hearing on budget at 6:15. In Southern news, March 23rd is the South Jersey Wind Ensemble concert at 6 p.m. March 26th, National Honor Society induction at 7. March 28th, the Athletic Hall of Fame induction at 2 p.m. And April 1st, the next Board of Education meeting will be at 7 p.m. in the Administration Building. And as always, please check the website for additional information. Any committee reports? Through correspondence, we do have some correspondence. Mrs. Phillips, did you want to speak on that, or did you want me to do that?
I just want to take a moment to recognize the Nicosia family as well as RCP management. We have struggled with sound equipment here for years, especially for our theater arts productions, assemblies, and through a generous donation from both the family and RCP management, we're going to be able to change that. So we are truly grateful. Our students thank you, and we certainly look forward to the theater arts performance coming up next week, utilizing that new sound equipment. It'll be wonderful. So thank you. Additionally, there's a letter included in your packet which speaks to some of what Ms. Lally is saying and some of the advocacy that we are attempting to provide on behalf of the district and our students. Most recently, Mr. Burns contacted Senator Amato's office, explaining the difficulties surrounding our fiscal status, and did receive a response. I can't say that there was a whole lot of advice included, but we are attempting to get the word out to our legislators, to our representatives, making them aware of, the struggles that we have as a result of changes in funding formula, increasing enrollment, increasing everything. And Mr. Burns will get into that more, through his kind of presentation.
Do we have a copy of that? Or you say we have a copy of that, or you're presenting it tonight?
That was included in our board members' packets as an FYI.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Phillips. I do want to make just on behalf of the board, I want to really thank the Nicosia family and RCP Real Estate Management for an unbelievable, generous donation to the Theater Arts Program. And it's well over, close to $4,000. And I will give you a little human interest on myself. That when I was a youngster and a young adult, I did a lot of musical theater, and I worked in music and in performing in bands and whatnot. And when I looked over the list of what the equipment was that they were providing our students, it is absolutely the best and most professional. My personal was the gaffer's tape, always very important. That's good. That's a joke. But anyway, I do want to thank them very much for that. I think that sitting on the board, these are the types of things that when we go and we see our young people performing up there, for myself anyway, the first thing I'm like is, this is what we should be doing. We should be, appropriating funds for an excellent top-of-the-line sound system for our young performers. These are the types of things we should be doing. And you can imagine the frustration on our part, year after year, boy, it's disheartening. So to have this family and this management corporation step up and give our students what we should be doing, but we can't, is very emotional, very touching, and I really want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. It's really remarkable to see that. Thank you. With regard to the letter from Senator Permanato, Mr. Amato was gracious to respond, really didn't offer much. Anyway, minutes. Motion to accept the minutes of the following Board of Education meetings: special meeting for February 9th, 2026, regular meeting on February 12th, 2026, executive meeting on February 12th, 2026. We'll need a motion in a second. Mrs. Leaning and Mr. Roll discussion. Anybody else want to say anything? Okay, roll call, please.
Mrs. Fuchs. Yes. Mrs. Leaning. Yes. Mr. Kim. Yes. Mrs. Susan.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion, I'm gonna need a motion anyway, to revise the agenda. Do we have a motion, please, in a second, so that we can have Mr. Burns present to the community the tentative budget presentation. Motion. Mrs. Fuchs and Mr. Kim, and we ready to roll call?
Mrs. Fuchs. Yes. Mrs. Leaning. Yes. Mr. Kim.
Yes.
Mrs. Susan.
Yes, at this time, we would like to introduce to you our business administrator, Mr. Kevin Burns, who would like to present to the community the tentative budget presentation. Thank you.
Thanks, Kelly. Everybody hear me okay? So this was another very challenging budget. It seems I've done 3 budgets now with Barry when we first started out, and it seems like one is more harder than the other. This one was no exception. It was we had a $1.4 million budget shortfall to have to work down. Keep in mind this is a tentative budget presentation, so a lot can change between now and April 30th. As you know, the last 2 budget cycles, things changed after the tentative budget, so just keep that in mind, because this is a tentative budget for approving tonight. Just some quick facts about the school district. We are a pre-K to 6 school district. Oh, sorry. For a pre-K to 6 school district, those are the students we serve here in these 2 buildings. We are financially responsible for grades 7 through 12. So if a student is sent out of the district at Southern, we pay for that. And also, of course, the regular and special education tuition amounts that we pay every year. We have a resident population of 875 students. That has gone up quite a bit the last few years. Our preschool student population is 110. 42% of our students participate in the free and reduced lunch program, and 24% of our students are engaged in special education programs. Those are high numbers. Like I said, enrollment is increasing, and our accumulated S2 between the years 2019 and 24-25 is approximately $5.25 million. Now, the CIPRA formula used to take into consideration your increased enrollment and your low-income numbers and community wealth into the formula, but they recently changed the formula and started capping school districts' aid. And I'll get into that in just a moment on the next slide. Just to note, we also offer free full-day preschool here. Not all school districts in New Jersey offer that, but we do. I happen to know quite a few in Monmouth County that we can offer full 3-day preschool. So that's something we do offer here. This is just a quick slide showing our enrollment increases. I think I had some conversations with Erin where she said she's seen some of her highest kindergarten numbers coming up, or even now, right? So you can see from the slide here that since 2021, our resident enrollment numbers have gradually increased, starting at 818 and ending at 875. It's quite an increase. This slide right here is it's a pie chart, basically a percentage of how our money is spent. You add the instructional support and benefit items, that makes up 85% of our budget. Transportation facilities make up the other 12%, and administrative costs make up the remaining 3%. It shows our budget is focused on the students, and a small percentage of the budget is paid out for administrative costs. It also shows that there really isn't a lot of flexibility in the budget when you're dealing with these kinds of shortfalls, and $1.4 million shortfall for us is very large. It's hard to make up those types of shortfalls without it significantly impacting students. I usually have this slide in my presentations. It's there's, the one that's going up is our tax levy, and the one that's going down is our state aid. What's most disappointing for me is after reducing our aid by $5.25 million over 7 years with the CIFR formula, that same CIFR formula calculated increases for us these last 2 budget cycles. And both budget cycles, they capped our aid. Just to give you the numbers, last year we reviewed the formula calculated an increase of $675,000 for us, but the state capped it at $101,000. So it was about $575,000. This year, we were supposed to get, according to the CIFR formula, $721,073, and we only got $107,000. So over 2 years, after taking $5.25 million from us in 7, the state has withheld almost $1.2 million. And this is while our enrollment is going up, our low-income numbers are at 42%, and our special education enrollment numbers are going up as well. If I had one word to describe that, it would be despicable. Our next slide is our adequacy budget calculated pursuant to the state. Basically, based on our enrollment numbers, our low-income numbers, special education numbers, the state calculates what they feel your tax levy should be. And they also include your community wealth in that. And according to the state, our tax levy should be closer to $20.4 million. But in this budget I'm presenting tonight, it's $16.5 million. So that's a difference of about $3.9 million. But as you know, there's a cap on the tax levy of 2%. So making up that difference can be very difficult. Now last year they made something available to us called tax levy incentive aid, where if you increased your tax levy, the state would, I think they matched 5%. We did take advantage of that last year, but as of today, we're not aware of that opportunity coming as of today. Like I said, it is a tentative budget we're presenting. The next slide is a chart of our Southern Regional School District net costs. Southern is a great school district, but their tuition increases have been high since I've gotten here. I started in 23-24, and as you can see, I've gotten pretty bad since then. So I kind of feel like a black cloud for this school district, to be honest with you. But those are the numbers. Now they're net and tuition adjustments. So for instance, 23-24, we had a negative tuition adjustment. The adjustment was actually in our school's favor. But starting 24-25, the first budget me and Harry worked on, that changed. First year was a $200,000 adjustment. Second year was almost $1 million. And this budget cycle we're working on right now is $756,000. So that's in the last 3 years of the tuition adjustments total about $1.9 million. And also our per pupil costs have increased 19% over that same time period. 2025, we were billed $16,000 per kid for grades 7 through 12. The budget cycle we're presenting tonight is $19,100 per student. And that's a 19% increase.
Mr. Burns, can I just jump in here for a second?
Yes.
Just to address tuition adjustment, as this is something that can be a little precarious to understand. The way that a tuition adjustment works is we pay our bill to Southern Regional each year for the students that we send there for 7th through 12th grade. That following year, so we paid our bill for 24-25 school year, and now in spring of 26, they come to us with their certified tuition rate. And that is the actual amount that it costs per pupil to send the student to Southern and educate them. They figure the difference between the actual and what was, initially quoted, let's say, and paid. And then they determine whether they owe us money or we owe them money. So when he says that there's an adjustment in our favor in 22-23, we saw an adjustment to ourselves of about $400,000. But since then, we have seen adjustments in Southern's favor. And that is a difficult situation in that there are costs that we can control here in our district, but we can't necessarily control those costs at Southern. However, that is where we're sending our students. So 3 years ago, our tuition to Southern Regional was about $15,900 per student. This year, our quoted rate for those students is $19,100. We saw a $720,000 increase in our tuition this year, and also a $756,000 adjustment. That is a very large bill, to fit into our budget. Last year, we saw about a $750,000 adjustment. So that was able to cover our increase coming forward. That line item, existed. I'm sorry, last year was almost $1 million in adjustment. We paid $750,000. They granted us a $243,000 deferral.
We don't agree with those numbers.
Those numbers are done through the state audit, and they're certified by the state of New Jersey. It's not an arbitrary amount that Southern determined. I understand your concern. The tuition adjustments is what we are grappling with, in addition to the $5.2 million in state aid loss, rising costs on special education, utilities, insurances, everything else, but then also these large tuition adjustments. Sorry, just wanted to jump in.
Thanks, Eric. Southern, they determine the billing per student amount. We send them our enrollment numbers. That's kind of how that works. Just to put this in perspective, like Gary said, our tuition increase for 26-27 is about $720,000. A 2% increase on our levy is about $310,000. So, just in order to pay for the tuition increase, we have to raise the levy by about 4.5%, just to pay for the tuition increase. I'd also like to note that probably a big reason for Southern's costs increasing is they're in the state health benefits plan, and like us, in January, we saw an increase of 37% in health insurance premiums. So the things you're seeing that are happening to people in their personal lives is happening to the school districts as well. And we were able to get out of the state health benefits plan, but I have a slide for that in a little bit, so I'm just going to keep moving on. So this slide is another slide I usually have in my presentation. It's a It's a comparative slide between last year and this year of our general fund budgeted revenues. That top line, local tax levy, that is the levy with the cap of 2% plus an enrollment adjustment of about 1.36%. That's where the 3.36% comes from. We qualify for the enrollment adjustment because our enrollment has increased. Going down a little bit, you'll see that our interest income projection is lower. That's because interest rates are going down. And since we have lost money last year, and of course we probably lose some money this year, our cash balance is also going down. So that's the reason for that lower projection. Keeping going down, Medicaid, we saw an increase of 72,000, which is very good. The state is using a different way to calculate those projected revenues. We get those numbers from the state of New Jersey, so that was a big plus for us with this budget. A nice surprise. State aid, I'm sure you've heard that state aid has gone up 6%. We do qualify for the increase of 6% because of our enrollment and our low-income numbers, but it's showing 4.64% because we had applied for that tax levy incentive aid. We received about an additional 24,000. This year that's not in place, so if you add that back in, that would be our actual increase this year of about 107,000 or 6%. Two of the issues that are, two of the lines that are going to stand out is our budget fund balance number went down. This was something in the area we're anticipating happening. One of our concerns before we even started working on the budget. We also knew maintenance reserve, that we were running out of maintenance reserve. We no longer have any, and we used to use that to balance our required maintenance budget. So if you look at the subtotal there, our overall budget is actually only going up 0.4%, the operating budget. Capital outlay is funded by capital reserve. Last year, I don't know if you remember, we had to include a roof project over here at West. The roof in the older section was in really bad shape, and we just could not wait. We needed to fix it. We had budgeted 600. Luckily, it only cost us 3, so we're able to put that back in capital reserve for 26, 27. I'm only have $50,000 in here, and that is for the walkways at West in the front of the building are starting to deteriorate pretty bad, and we need to address that. There's some other areas. That's what the $50,000 is for.
Just to jump in again, that $20,402,329 of operating budget, our operating budget in the 18-19 school year was about $19.4 million. So in the last 8 years, we have seen $1 million increase. However, enrollment, as you saw, has grown significantly, as well as needs of students, and costs of utilities and everything.
So how did we get to our $1.4 million shortfall? We created this slide to kind of give you an idea how we got there. The first line is an important one because it's kind of where me and Harry were starting from after we paid salaries. We include all our regular annual increases for liability insurance, gas, electric, maintenance, like I said, salaries, professional services, special education needs. Also in that number is the savings from us leaving the state health benefits plan. Like I said, in January we saw a 37% increase, but luckily the union agreed to a sidebar with us. Much appreciated. Saved the district a boatload of money. Had to be done, and that's included in that. The savings from that are actually included in that shortfall number. Now going forward from there, that second line is the new tuition adjustment that Harry was talking about, $756,621. That's from the most recent audited year, 24-25. Now, we did have already a tuition adjustment on the books in the 23-24 school year in the amount of $730,450. That basically offset that tuition amount, but if you recall, last year we deferred a quarter of that adjustment from 23-24, and so that was still due for the upcoming 26-27 budget. You take that and you add that to the regular tuition increase of $720 that I mentioned before, and that was the impact of basically tuition, Southern's tuition and tuition adjustments. We've got a $960,000 increase on our budget. So you add that to the $413,000 shortfall, and that's how you get to the $1.4 million shortfall that Moon area had to work on. Now at this time, we still haven't gotten our state aid numbers yet. Mean area, we only got our state aid numbers 2 weeks ago. We were very hopeful that the state would do the right thing this year and not cap our aid after taking so much from us for 7 years. But that's exactly what happened. It was very disappointing. Very disappointing. I think it has something to do with the new governor coming in. So they kind of just rolled with what they did the following year. I've heard that they're looking into the sister from formula for the next budget cycle. So we probably will see some kind of change, hopefully. Some districts benefited from these caps, not having to lose more than 3%. I'm sure it's helping some districts, but we didn't get that. We didn't get that courtesy for 7 years. There was no cap. So this is just a brief slide talking about our agreement with the union, the sidebar that we did. It was very beneficial. We saved a lot of money. I've heard that Southern could not get out. I'm not going to get into why, but they couldn't get out. And they're telling other school districts that are still in the state plan to budget for a 30% increase in January 27. Our rates are going to be flat for the entire school year. That's why we're saving so much money. We got a 16-month rate. So we got out March, and that rate's going to be the same until June 30, 2027. So we will more than likely, when we go to work on the 27-28 budget, we will see a health insurance increase, but it should be a lot less than what some of these other districts are looking at in January. Also, there was restrictive language in the contract that we agreed to take out, and that gives the board more flexibility going forward as well, if they want to maybe leave the current plan in there. This is a kind of like a tax overview slide. Those top few lines, but the 16,503 is the 3.3% increase that I was talking about. Our rate bills went up slightly in town by 0.42%. So on the average home value 2026 of $468,600, you'll see an annual increase on your tax bill of $98, or about $8 a month. Now I get these average home values from the township tax assessor. But that is the tax impact on a 3.36% tax increase on the levy.
Sorry, so that's what you're asking for is 3.6%?
That is what I'm asking the board to approve tonight, yes. This is a school 2025 school tax rate comparison. Our number is actually the 2026 rate that I just showed, 0.737. Hopefully I didn't really point that out. Tax rate 7.37. So the rest of those school rates are from 2025 2025. So, more than likely will keep going up. I'd just like to point out that Manchester had a reassessment done in 2025, as did we in 2024. So that did drop our tax rate. We never have a reassessment, that's usually what happens. Those other districts' average home values are a lot less than ours. So if they had a reassessment, you can always see their tax rate go down. So what does this budget include? Not much good. We lost more Title I funding from the federal government, which is going to impact our basic skills programs. Last year, the Fed took about 25% away from us for our Title I programs, and this year we're being told by the county to budget 25% less again. So that's 50% in 2 years. We had to reduce our technology replacements and devices and displays by $35,000. Our reduction in staff, reducing 6 full-time certified staff and 4 full-time certified staff part-time. These reductions in class sections for grades K through 4 will be putting over 30 students in a class in some cases. We will also be reducing our non-certified staff to part-time. And this is going to require the board to hire more part-time staff to fill in the holes created by that reduction. Capital needs, so we have bonds expiring at the end of next year, and we had we're going to have a bond referendum in November. We're already working through the scope of work. We have a lot of needs, as you can see. We have to replace both boilers we have to replace the boilers at both schools. We have a boiler at West that's from 1952. That's operating at about 78% efficiency. Our emergency generators need to be updated to include our communications and our network servers. The West Fire panel needs to be upgraded. The chillers have reached the end of their useful lives, and all the remaining roofs are starting to deteriorate. Except, we had a new one at West over the old section, and above our heads right now is a fairly new roof. Other than that, every other roof needs to be repaired or replaced. If we don't, eventually what was happening out West, where we had water leaking through the building, it's going to start happening in these other buildings. And that's not safe for this children. Classroom ventilators are also aging out. We need to address these items, make our school more energy efficient, and also save on repair costs. If we don't replace these important infrastructure items, they're going to break down, and that's going to be very expensive to fix. And we also don't have the capital reserve to make any kind of big replacements. For instance, to replace one classroom unit ventilator is starting to cost almost $100,000 a unit ventilator. So what obstacles are facing the district moving forward? One obstacle is the 25-26 tuition adjustment. You can see from the slide that for the 25-26 school year, we were charged $17,800 per student for grades 7 through 12. But we know that Southern certified rate for the 24-25 school year was $18,870 for grades 7 through 8. And $18,692 for grades 9 through 12. So based on those figures, the district is anticipating another adjustment for the 27-28 budget cycle. How much that'll be can depend on a lot of different factors. I know Mr. Harrison from Southern is a great business administrator, so we know we will be looking to see if they can get out a state plan as early as it can. And if they were able to get a state plan, that could really help that situation there. Rising costs. It's my opinion that the 2% cap, based on the way inflation is right now and the cost of things, you know, not too long ago, our health insurance increases were like 3%. You know, you only had to budget maybe at 3% of your utility costs. It's just not happening anymore. We're on double-digit numbers across the board, and in my opinion, the 2% cap is just obsolete. It just does not address all these increased costs. Lack of reserves. The only reserves we have right now is capital reserve. We have about a little over 900,000. We had to use 300 of that for the roof. And be very careful how we spend that, because right now, at the end of the school year, like most districts have some excess to put in their reserves. We do not. I haven't been able to put any money in any reserve account since I've been there. So you have to be very careful how we spend that money. Facility needs, like I said, a lot of our important infrastructure assets are aging out. You know, we have fire panels that need to be updated. We have a boiler from 1950. It's very important that you come out and support this referendum in November. I cannot overstate that. In my opinion, the board's my opinion, I feel like the federal government is concerned about our students. The state doesn't seem too worried about them. So I feel our community has to come out and show that there's still somebody that cares about these kids. Because not addressing these needs, it would be very bad. Leaky roofs causes mold, it affects your children's health. Old chillers are not good, and not having classroom unit ventilators to bring in fresh air and into the classrooms, it's just not healthy for your students. So I implore you to come out and vote yes. Now, the way that the referendum is going to be structured, there's going to be a tax neutral question, and then there's going to be a question that raises taxes slightly. So I think the second question that increases the tax rate, at the most, it might increase it $40 on the average home value. So you're talking less than $4 a month on a house valued at about about $65,000. Question one will be tax neutral, and it would address a lot of our needs, and that means it would address those needs, and you can see zero impact on your tax bill. That's my budget presentation.
Kevin, could you just explain a little bit better the 3.6? That includes the 1.6 for enrollment adjustment as well, right?
So it's 3.36. The 2% cap. That's the max you can go up. And then they allow you certain adjustments. There's a health benefit adjustment, and there's an enrollment adjustment. We qualified for the enrollment adjustment. We didn't qualify for the health benefit adjustment because we saved on our health benefits for 26-27. The enrollment adjustment was due to our enrollment going up. State does a calculation with a bunch of software, and that calculation provided us an additional about $212,000. So our tax levy went up approximately $536,000.
Thank you for clarifying.
That's all I have.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Burns, we appreciate it. Just to remind the community that this is a tentative budget presentation. We're not voting on the actual budget. But the state of New Jersey is very clear that we have to, as well as every other district in this state, provide them with a balanced budget. Continuing with our agenda, we need a motion to approve the following. B1, warrants for payment. B2, budget transfers. B3, certification of the budget report. B4, secretary's report. B5, treasurer's report. B6, tax levy. B7, tuition receivable. B8, transportation jointure. B9, 2024-2025 audit report. B10, maintenance reserve withdrawal. B11, donation of sound equipment from the Nicosia family. B12, donation of sound equipment from RCP management. B13, professional audio services. B14, professional services. B15 for the fiscal year 2026-2027 semi-corrective action plan. That's all inclusive there. B16, approval of tentative budget 26-27 school year. And the superintendent recommends approval to adopt the tentative budget for 2026-27 school year as listed. The school business administrator board secretary shall track and report costs to ensure that the maximum amount is not exceeded. I need a motion in a second, please.
Motion. Second.
Okay, Mrs. Fuchs and Mr. Tim, board discussion. Okay, roll call, please.
Mrs. Fuchs.
Yes.
Mrs. Leamy.
Yes.
Mr. Pym.
Yes.
Mr. Tart.
Yes.
Mrs. Susie.
Yes, superintendent's report, motion to approve the following. I'm sorry.
Were we gonna have any discussion?
Oh, travel, I'm sorry. I did not, report the travel and related expensive reimbursement.
What if we had questions on the budget?
Oh, yes, yes, let's do this. Let us have a motion in a second for the travel and related expense reimbursement and all of the tentative budget, and then we'll get to our questions. Okay?
Motion.
Thank you.
Second.
Have more discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Fuchs.
Yes.
Mrs. Leamy.
Yes.
Mr. Pym.
Yes.
Mr. Tart.
Yes.
Mrs. Susie.
Yes, at this time, board, would anybody like to ask Mr. Burns any particular questions, for the budget? Yeah, we can do that. I can start. Mr. Burns,
What's happening
exactly, if you could explain, is the 2%, what is 2% on the tax levy, and what does that cover for our school district?
2% on the levy represents about 300, I think for this year was around $300,000 increase. It definitely pays for salaries, which makes salaries and, I was gonna say benefits, but, in some cases, like before, where you're trying to budget 30%, you're not gonna be able to cover benefits like that with just $300,000. Luckily, because we got out of state plan, we could, but it pretty much covers your salaries, utilities, supplies, that kind of thing. Increases, yes. But, like I said before, with the way prices are going up, it's becoming much harder to cover your expenses with a 2% cap, if not impossible.
What allows you to go
Oh,
over?
excuse us, sir, we're gonna have some public comments in a minute, please, thank you. Anybody else?
Yeah, I have a question about Southern. Okay, so, from what I understand what you said, you got an adjustment increase from Southern and,
Regular tuition?
the regular, yes, thank you, tuition increase. So together, that's like over $1 million.
Yeah, the bill was about 1.45 million. Like I said, we had $730,000 on the books already.
Right.
Help offset that, but we also left on the table from last year that 243. So that's how you get to the net impact of their bill is about $960,000 for us.
All right, so that's like the net 960. And there's nothing we can do in the future, how we can address the,
Well, like I said,
adjustments and stuff, right?
well, this tentative budget leaves in our books a little over $1 million on the line item for tuition adjustments.
Okay.
So if, let's say, for the 27-28 budget cycle, we get a $700,000 tuition adjustment from Southern, we have $300,000 remaining that we can either cut or move somewhere. It's kind of one good thing about having that there. The other thing is, like I said, Southern had a budget of 30% increase for health benefits in January 2027. So I'm sure that they'll probably be looking to try and do something about that. So if they could get out of state plan, it would probably lower their costs significantly, which would help us tuition adjustment wise for the 26-27 school year. 25-26, we're going to see a tuition adjustment. It's just a matter of how much.
And then does some of that come from the state, though?
So state health insurance.
No, I mean, the actual tuition itself. Does the state have some
certify the per pupil cost, that's, just Southern, and then just like we do, we get audited every year, and, we hire them, they're public firms that come and do the audit, and they tell us what our certified rates are.
So in other words, we don't have any say in what they charge us for tuition, like 19.1. But you said in order for them to do that, they have to get the okay from somebody to do it. It's not like they can just say, okay, starting next year, it's $24,000.
Well, from my experience here, Southern uses the prior certified rate to kind of base what they're gonna charge you for the following school year. So you looked at it as 24, 25 certified rate, and from that, that's how we determine what to charge you for 26, 27.
It's typically about a 2% increase from the certified rate. So I believe, it's about 18.7 was the certified rate. And so this year, they billed us about 19.1. Additionally, Mr. Burns and I have spoken with Southern at length, regarding our budget concerns. And they are very aware they themselves are making adjustments in, different programming. Obviously, health benefits are a concern. So as they try to be as fiscally responsible, as they can, that will then in turn benefit us. Still, Southern provides an incredible education for our students. It is a Cadillac High School in South Jersey, and I certainly am very proud of the accomplishments that our students make down at Southern Regional. So where, we are certainly concerned about the costs, they are receiving a quality education and experience.
And they also provide transportation.
Yes, and Southern does also provide our transportation, and our transportation is very reasonable as compared to, some of the private transportation companies that are out there. So, that is something to also consider. When I mentioned earlier that Southern accepted a deferral last year, they allowed us to defer about $500,000 of our payment, and then through the tax levy adjustment, we made up another $250,000 of that payment. This year, we have requested from them a $378,311 adjustment, which they will be, discussing to determine if they can grant that without impacting their budget as well. And that adjustment will in turn have a significant impact on our operations here. If they, I shouldn't say adjustment, if they grant that deferral, that will certainly change our day-to-day operations as far as staffing, maintaining staff, restoring some programming. But as of right now, what you are seeing is the bare minimum.
I definitely agree with you about Southern. I mean, it's not even a matter of, that's not where I was going from, because no matter where we were, we'd be in the same boat. We'd be, answering to their costs. And Southern has increases just like everybody else.
Kevin, one, guys, I apologize for not being a guy as fast as I could. Kind of a two-part question for you. One of the things is, do you think our enrollment numbers are going to continue to increase? Right, but on that, one question I would have is, we are capped by the state by how much we can raise our tax levy each year. Can you give me any information on private schools when we said an out-of-district placement? Is there a dollar amount that the state tells them they can raise their costs every year? Because it's my time on the board, as I've sat here, every year I look at out-of-district placements that we have no choice to do, go up and up and up. And I haven't done the math, but somehow I don't think they're playing by the same rules. So it looks like these out-of-district placements are costing us an exceptional amount of money. And again, what we get is based on enrollment. But for instance, if one of these students were to enroll here, be an out-of-district placement, what would the dollar amount difference be for say with those out-of-district placements versus say Southern or one of our regular classes here?
I mean, it's very significant. I mean, we probably pay, on an average, the average amount it's probably close to 75 grand a student compared to 20 we're paying for a regular student. And it's not just the tuition, of course, it's transportation as well. We pay some really exorbitant amounts to transport these students because they can be sometimes, very far away.
Our transportation costs sometimes exceed their tuition costs.
Sure.
So you're telling me there is no, New Jersey has no cap. So if you were to start a private school tomorrow, you could charge your own rate. There's no regulation as to what they can charge.
Well, when I got here, they were already too high. And I haven't seen them, they go up every year. The percentages aren't too astronomical, but when you're already at $100,000, it's already too high. I'm not aware of any cap, probably go for private schools. No, I'm not aware of that.
Do they have to meet the same requirements as a public school in terms of how they run their operation?
I don't believe so, no, they're not.
Yeah, so in terms of compliance, the things that are, those of you that don't know, most of our budget, between Southern, special ed costs, fixed costs, they don't have to be compliant, right, in terms of nobody's gonna go through their books and audit them like $8+ every year.
No,
They can charge what they want, they got to
And as our special education, as Mr. Burns pointed out, we're kind of on the high end of special education students. And yeah, when you're looking at $100,000 for one of those students, that's a lot.
I happen to know for a fact, because I've asked when I was at some of my business administrative meetings, most school districts build in extra out-of-district tuition costs, even though they don't really have a placement, because they know how detrimental it is to not budget for it and have a kid go out of district. Our budget is so tight; it's very difficult for us to do that kind of thing. It makes things very complicated.
And I know the answer to it, but for those that are out here listening, if a student comes through Waretown Schools, K through 6, attends Southern, and Southern decides that that student needs to go out of district, do we have any say
No.
on it? Okay.
Kevin, can we expect another 6% increase in state aid?
That's a good question. I know there's a lot of talk of revamping the funding formula. Hopefully not. I think that, like I said, I think having a new governor come in this year really affected that. I don't think they were looking to make any big decisions like that, changing the funding formula. They kind of just, I think, rolled with what they had done last year. I think now that the governor will be in there for a year, they probably will look into changing the system formula in some way. It's just, it's hard to predict what they're going to adjust it.
There was a proposal for the special ed cost, correct? So a change to that, how it was formulated
Yes.
per enrollment rather than the census-based model?
That's correct. That was not in place this year.
No, I'm saying for next year.
Yes.
And
Yes.
can you speak to how that would affect us? Would that be a positive for us?
Yes, because our enrollment we're seeing an increase in our special education enrollment, but our special education need is not really increased. I know that last year.
You're saying our aid hasn't increased,
Correct.
but our costs have increased, okay.
Correct. And last year, we only saw an increase of about $103,000 in aid. What they did is they kind of just moved the money around, so it looked like we got this big increase in special education aid. When you added it all together, we only got a $100,000 increase. They took money from the adjustment aid column and just moved it to special education aid.
So just to clarify, that's not reflected in this budget, but will be reflected in 2026, we believe, if the state's proposed budget.
Possibly, yes, and I remember, I talk about it, a lot, that, they have something called extraordinary aid that you can apply for, and, I guess more school districts are applying for it. Last year, we had, applied for an additional over $300,000 in extraordinary aid. We only ended up getting an additional $2,000 back. It was very disappointing. I asked about it, and apparently just more schools are submitting for extraordinary aid, and there's just so much money in the pot to buy out.
I do have something I'd like to address with you. You did address, and you spoke about the upcoming referendum. Of course, the neutral vote would be wonderful, that nothing would happen. Could you just go over that again, the numbers again, about it's not a significant increase. If they have to have an increase, could you just repeat those numbers again for our home?
The way we structured the referendum was, we specifically wanted to have a question that was tax neutral. These bonds, they go for 25 years, and the idea is, after you're done paying the bond, the assets that you're paying on are probably starting to age out. And it's timed that way, so, you can go back out to the referendum, and there would be, you can have that minimal impact on the tax rate. So we structured the question so there would be a tax neutral option, and then we prioritized our most needed items for that question. Unfortunately, we could not fit all our important needs in there, so there is going to be a second question. I think the second question is going to address boilers, which is also an important item that needs to be addressed. Like I said, we wanted to have a question that was tax neutral. We knew that was important.
So, but even if there is a tax increase,
On the second question,
it's not significant.
yeah, we're talking, Phoenix Advisors did an analysis for us on average home value that I mentioned before, about $465,000 and $467. It would be about a $40 annual increase. So we're talking less than maybe $4 a month.
Very small.
And that would address all our very important needs.
And just to jump in with that, obviously, it's not prioritizing the referendum, but when you go to referendum and you bond for these monies, the majority of projects are eligible for what's called debt service aid. And that means if they qualify through the state for debt service aid, the state is actually paying 40% of the cost of that project. So we pay 60%. So at one clip, you are able to get far more accomplished with the state, contributing that 40%. Where if you don't bond for it, and you have an emergency situation such as, the roof that we needed to replace at West last year, that was about $300,000. Because that was not bonded for, it was not a capital project through referendum, we were unable to collect debt service aid on that and the entire thing
I
ourselves.
wanted to clarify that, even if they're, if it's talking about an increase, it's related to the homeowners. So that's, I just wanted to just get those numbers, clarified again. Thanks.
Anybody else? Okay, superintendent's report. I need a motion to approve the following on recommendation of the superintendent. S1 report of the superintendent, S2 staff reports as listed, S3 building use as listed, S4 transportation trips as listed, S5 school calendar, S6 hidden investigation, S7 professional development as listed. We have a motion and a second. Motion.
Second.
Mrs. Houston, Mr. Tarr, for discussion. Roll call.
Mrs. Hughes?
Yes.
Mrs. Leamy?
Yes.
Mr. Kim?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mrs. Susan?
Yes, under personnel instruction, P1 employment is listed, P2 substitutes is listed, P3 resignation is listed, P4 medical leave is listed, P5 family leave, as listed, P6 Club Advisor. Motion and second, please.
Motion.
Mr. Tardy, Mr. Finn, board discussion?
I'd just like to make a comment, there's a resignation of Mr. Burns. He's been doing an outstanding job in this district, has for years, so it's gonna be very sad to see Kevin leave. We wish him all the best on his new adventure. Keep the phone lines open.
I will.
Yeah, thank you very, very much. Again. Spent a lot of time on the show. Did everything you could. Did everything you could. We'll certainly miss you.
I'll definitely keep in touch.
Mr. Burns, you came upon at a time when we really truly needed a business administrator that provided us some stability and some hope. And you've done a remarkable job considering the unbelievable challenges that you face, and you kept your sense of humor. You are always available to any of us at any time. You answered our questions, even when I asked 1,000 times the same question. And I kept saying, I don't understand. Do we have pennies and nickels? Can you show me that way? You're always very patient, you're always professional, and I'm going to miss you terribly, but I know that there are great things ahead for you, and I wish you all the best. Thank you for supporting our schools and for all the help you've given us. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Kevin. I love the fact that no matter what question I had or what I tried to learn, you were so patient with me. So I'm really gonna miss that. I don't know if we'll be so lucky next time, but I certainly appreciate you having time and energy to deal with all my questions.
Thank you for your great board. I really love working with you. And some people aren't here. Yes, Debbie and yeah, well, it's been pretty consistent.
Yeah.
I've really enjoyed working with you.
Thank you, Kevin. Can we have a motion in a second, please? Personnel instruction, items? Mr. Tiff and Celine, thank you. Can we have roll call, please?
Mrs. Hughes? Yes. Mrs. Leamy?
Yes.
Mr. Pym?
Yes.
Mr. Tart?
Yes.
Mrs. Susan?
Yes, under policy and regulation, motion to approve the following on recommendation of the superintendent. New revised policies and regulations, the first reading, 1552, sexual harassment policy and regulation. The abolished policies and regulation, first reading, 3362, sexual harassment, teaching staff policy and regulation. 4352, sexual harassment, support staff policy and regulation. And new revised policies and regulation, that's the second reading, as 0142.1, nepotism bylaw, and 1220, appointment of chief school administrator policy. Motion and second, please.
Motion?
Second.
Mrs. Leeming and Mr. Tart, board discussion? Okay, roll call.
Mrs. Hughes? Yes. Mrs. Leamy?
Yes.
Mr. Pym?
Yes.
Mr. Tart?
Yes.
Mrs. Susan?
Yes, additional staff attending workshops as listed, and no cost in the district or substitute needed for two staff members. At this time, open public forum, we need a motion in a second to do that, so we can have a speak if they wish.
Motion?
Second.
Mrs. Leeming and Mr. Tart, roll call, please.
Mrs. Hughes?
Yes.
Mrs. Leamy?
Yes.
Mr. Pym?
Yes.
Mr. Tart?
Yes.
Mrs. Susan?
Yes, if you wish to come forward, please come up to the podium and state your name and your address for the record. Please just be reminded by board policy 0167, limited to 5 minutes.
Thank you. Mitch Bernstein, 112 Brigantine Boulevard. First, I'd like to start on a positive note. There's as everybody pretty much knows, the Township's celebrating our 150th anniversary this year, and we're starting on April 12th. But there's a wonderful art contest that I know Harry's been promoting throughout the schools. But I just wanted to remind all the parents and children in the room to try to participate. It's a wonderful way to demonstrate their creativity through art, and they can go on the Township website to find an application, and it's open between now and the middle of June, and there's many ways to demonstrate it, either through painting, artwork, or demonstrate that. So we encourage everybody to, adults and children, to participate in that. So please try to do that. With respect to the more mundane items, I have a couple of questions regarding the budget. Firstly, the 2% cap, what allows us to go beyond that?
Enrollment adjustment.
So
It allows us to go an additional 1.36%.
Okay. And with respect to the last 3 cycles where we've added over $1 million in taxes in those last 3 cycles, your position is that that money has been eaten up by the decrease in state aid? Is that your position?
I wouldn't say that. We were definitely due more state. Oh no, you could say that. I mean, we lost $5.25 million in 7 years. That will create a very tight budget where there's not a lot of flexibility. What ended up happening was when I got here, our budgeted fund balance number was $1.8 million, which is extremely high for a district our size. To give you an example, I know school districts that have $100 million budgets, and their budgeted fund balance number is that much. So the number is really high because basically what we're doing is we're using that to help offset all those losses we experienced for 7 years.
So, understood, but just from the flip side of that, those increases, which were very substantial from the taxpayer standpoint during the last 3 years, first 800,000, which is now close to 850 because of the 2% increase each year, then 9.9%, then 6.48%, now 3.36%. There's obviously an ongoing pattern, and given the challenges that you presented this evening, it's certainly indicative of ongoing challenges, which you spoke plainly about last year, and which are ongoing this year. And so it doesn't seem, save for a budgetary save in Trenton, that this is going to stop anytime soon. Is that a reasonable statement?
And what's not going to stop anytime soon? What's
that these budget challenges and subsequent tax increases won't stop anytime soon unless Trenton does something.
Well, as I said, I mean, the cap is still in place for this budget cycle, 26-27 at 2%, plus the one enrollment adjustment we had. As far as I know, that's not changing going forward. So if the state continues to not give us the aid that the formula calculates, if we keep seeing large tuition increases in Southern, yeah, we're going to have budget difficulties going forward, yes.
Harry, are you anticipating continued enrollment increases going forward?
At this time, I can't say for sure. Obviously, we have new housing that has been opening. It's been a kind of a slow roll open, and we've seen quite a few students enroll from that housing complex, as well as some of the apartments that I believe were unfilled. So as of now, we have a 20 student increase over last year. We currently have 83 students registered for first grade. We have 82 students registered for kindergarten. If that trend were to continue, we would certainly continue to see enrollment increases when I believe my smallest grade level right now is 58 students. So that's significantly higher for a grade level.
And just trying to extrapolate that out, does that put, and I'm not sure who can speak to this on the board, but does that put any pressure on not only our teachers, but facilities and the other parts of the system?
Over time, it certainly will. If we were to go to say 82, 83 in class, we would be filling more classrooms, shifting more resources around, getting more creative with where certain services are provided. Additionally, if we start seeing larger class sizes going to Southern, that will certainly impact our line items for tuition there, because we'll see tuition increases. And with additional students comes additional services that are needed, through special ed, or just basic skills, our multilingual population, students in need require, additional services, which obviously then require more funding.
100%. It's just the town, our size, which notwithstanding that increase, we've got sustainability issues with respect to overall increases on a year-to-year basis, and the ceiling only goes so high before it becomes unsustainable from an economic standpoint for a lot of families in this town. So it's something that I'm not sure, I don't know what the answer is, but it's an issue.
If I just comment real quick, the funny part about this is in 2018, we started hammering us with these cuts. The narrative was, you don't have enough students, school's too small, there's not enough kids in there, so we're not going to fund you as much as we were before because we don't have enough students. Now our enrollment increases, and they cap what we can get back. So after taking, and there was no floor for years and years and years, now they say, well, you deserve this much money, but we're only going to give you this much money back.
You brought up an outstanding question, because we're capped at the increase, but they can charge whatever they want. I thought that was a great question, and you're absolutely right. And it is to that respect, it is a rigged game. 100%, it is a rigged game. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else like to present?
Good evening. Chris Nicosia, 86 Park Beach Drive.
Thank you.
Okay, I have a few things I wanted to talk about. I have my little phone here, so I don't lose track of my thoughts here. Some of this is just statements, and others might be questions. So, regarding the health benefits that we were able to negotiate out, I know that that's been something that's been going around the state. Southern was unable, or whatever their negotiations with their union didn't pan out this season. Obviously, that higher rate that they're paying is being passed into the tuition, right? So obviously, that's part of what's driving that pretty significant increase in tuition, I would imagine.
Twofold, right? Because we don't get adjustment that we would get back because we got out of it.
Right.
It's money that we would get, and not only that, they didn't.
Right.
So we don't get.
We're almost paying twice.
And now we're paying.
Yeah. So, and somebody had brought up a question, which was a good one, which is, just because the Southern's budget is certified and audited, they're not necessarily signing off on the budget. They're saying that it's being fairly represented. But if they offer 100 different courses, and it's like a college, their tuition is going to be higher because of the cost to support that versus our district, which right now we've basically cut everything and anything that we can cut and then some. We're running two different programs. We're driving a Hugo, they're driving Benz, right? And so we're paying into a very expensive, it's a great program, and listen, I want my kids to go to Southern, I love Southern, but at the same time, it brings up the question of, can we afford to continue sending our kids to Southern? And so that brings up my first question, which is the arrangement that we have at Southern. What does that look like for the future, as far as, do we need to start considering whether they're the right fit for us going forward from a budgetary perspective? Is there other options that we can look at? Which sort of brings up another question, which is, the four-letter C word, consolidation. I know we've pushed back on it because there's a lot of challenges with it, it's expensive to do a feasibility study and everything else. Have we reached the point where we're kind of running out of options? Where, as a district, if we don't, it appears from what's coming from the governor's office down that they're gonna start coercing that process one way or the other. The question I have is it gonna be more beneficial for us as a district to do it before it's coerced, so we have a little bit of control, versus having the state dictate it to us, and we have even less control than we have now? Something to think about. You don't have to opine on that now, but it's definitely something to think about given where the current administration appears to be going when it comes to consolidation. Because when they released the budget numbers, it came out with this idea of, guess what? We're going to be attacking consolidation because there's 600 plus school districts. We can't fund them. That being said, have we started thinking about you as a board, thinking about who we might approach, whether it's LBI Consolidated, whether it's Stafford? And has there been any conversations, and maybe this is for the attorney, as far as, I know that those districts may not want to engage in those conversations. Is there a way to compel it? Or is there a way that we're going to be compelled to have those conversations? And then, Mr. Burns, I'm sorry to see that you're leaving. We wish you well. With that change coming, how is the board approaching that? Is there a shared services look going in? I realize it's personnel, but just, is that being looked at, given where we are, and given the cuts that are going to be affecting the classroom? And I realize I just threw a lot at you, but figured I'd get it all out, and you guys can take it as you wish.
I'm gonna work back.
Sounds good.
We have currently posted for Mr. Burns' position, both interim and full-time business administrator. Being that Mr. Burns will be leaving us May 18th, it doesn't leave much time to
Facilitate
that process, search, and then allow someone to provide adequate notice to a position that they may hold elsewhere. Shared services are always a consideration. Previously, the district has struggled to facilitate a shared service relationship with other districts. We were fortunate in that we did have a shared service agreement with Southern Regional for many years for a lot of business office services, not just a business administrator. That became no longer possible as they had some changes in staffing about a year and a half ago. And so part-time business administrators are also very difficult to come by. So we have posted for full-time, and we're going to move through that process. I'm currently also seeking an interim in the event that we do need some coverage until the point. But there's nothing that's ever off the table.
Okay.
How we started thinking about who to partner with for a study. About a year ago, myself, Mr. Burns, Mr. Brown, our legal counsel, met with Rowan University to explore what a feasibility consolidation study process looks like. We spent a lot of time talking with a gentleman there, and he came down and presented to our board. They asked a lot of questions, and at the same time, we were seeking information from surrounding districts that were also participating in a consolidation study at the time and waiting on their results. Through that, we did approach Stafford Township School District to see if they would be interested in partnering with us to do a consolidation study. Unfortunately, at this time, they declined that. And we continue to explore that opportunity. The last that we spoke with Mr. Magyar at Rowan University was just prior to the change in governor, and there are a lot of bills. There's one particular bill out there. They believe there's a lot of changes to how those studies are done, and there's also a question regarding state aid, because oftentimes when those studies are done, the calculations actually result in a reduction in your state aid.
Right.
So they were trying to also put forth a bill that prohibited them from decreasing their state aid, so that, you know, it wasn't counterproductive. The other belief is that there's going to be some changes at the state level because, to be honest, once you sign up for one of these studies and agree to, you know, start writing the grant to try to get the study funded and so on and so forth, the resounding feedback is that everybody kind of disappears, and there's nobody there to support you. There is no, you know, office of consolidation for public schools at the state level that will guide you through this process, and they do have, you know, these teams through different universities, but it is very challenging, and I've spoken with superintendents and school leaders that are far smarter and have been through these processes, and it is not a kind one. However, it is something that we do need to consider. We need to consider it for our students, because what this budget provides is not thorough and efficient. And so again, nothing is off.
I think also the word consolidation has initially started from the state to look at administrative costs, because it made sense, right, to have one administrator for many districts. Waretown is fortunate in the sense that
We're very administrative.
we have 3 administrators that
Do 6
we have.
people's job.
That's right. We have a business administrator that you need, he's the accountant, okay, and we have a superintendent and a principal, Ms. Phillips, and Ms. Reinhardt is the principal and director of special services. Now, if you know anything about special services, that is special ed, the laws alone would drive you crazy. You have to be very on top of things. It's very, very important. So, you know, that is when it really started. We did have Rowan come down and speak with us, and again, you have to incur other districts' debt. And when he talked to us, I think the figure was 5%, something like that, or maybe less than 5% savings. We're really, we went to Stafford because they are a sending district to Southern Regional, so it made the most sense to try to partner with them. So it's not something that's off the table, it's just, the problem is that the state doesn't really provide guidance. And it's kind of this free-for-all. Here we have an idea figured out, with some obviously very specific, guidelines of what you have to do. You have to get a partner, you have to go through this process. So it's something that obviously we're not considering. But Southern is not the reason that we have a budget deficit. I just want to make that clear that is not the reason why. There's many benefits to it, and it's not necessarily that if we were going to partner with another district, are we going to get the same for our students, and is it going to be cheaper? You know, there's always that possibility that within consolidation, your taxes go up, and that's something that we certainly cannot happen unless it was really thorough. Yeah.
The other concern on my last thing, I believe, is there was an article that just came out that LBI Consolidated is actually approaching Southern about an inequitable tuition. And because right now the island covers about 80% of their finance, if they are successful in the challenge, there's going to be a redistribution of tuition.
And I will tell you that has been a fight that's been happening for years, and I can sort of speak because I'm the representative on the Southern Board, and as it's always stated, that be careful what you wish for, because every dollar goes to the students of Southern Regional, and once the state finds this out, well, that money goes west. That'll go right to Camden. So, yeah, or north. So that's something that, you know, when people see that, they see dollar signs, but they don't understand that every single penny goes to the Southern student. Okay? But once the state, it's a money grab for the state. Once they find that out, that's not what's going to happen. Their money might not go down that tax base, and most of it's going to go somewhere else. So that's a consideration. Thank you very much. Anyone else? I know we're going over a little bit of 5 minutes, but I think it's a little bit important.
Mary Kay Valentine, 54 Maple Street. I just wanted to address some of the comments comments made about out-of-district cost. I understand that budget matters. I understand that these decisions are not easy, but I also think it's important to remember what those numbers actually represent. They're children. They represent people's children. For some students, an in-district placement works beautifully. For others, it doesn't. And when it doesn't, the impact is not small. It makes a difference between a child who is learning and a child who is in distress, between progress and regression, between feeling safe and feeling overwhelmed every single day going to school. Out-of-district placement is not a luxury. It is not an extra. It is not a convenience. It is a necessity for when a child's needs cannot be met. When we talk about cost, I ask that we also talk about the value. What is the value of a child being able to access their education? What is the value of emotional regulation, of safety, of growth? What is the cost of getting it wrong? Because I can tell you from experience, the cost of an inappropriate placement is far greater. It shows up in regression, it shows up in behavioral struggles at school and at home, in everyday life, in lost learning and long-term impacts on a child's well-being. So I ask that when you're discussing these placements, they're not framed as an expense that needs to be reduced, but as an investment for people's children who need something different to succeed. Thank you.
I'll take that because I was going to address that. I've spent my career in special education. My point was simply not to say that you are 100% correct, because I believe that you are. When we're talking numbers and budgetary items, the state of New Jersey doesn't feel the same way you do or the same way I do. So my comments were made simply towards the budget, not towards what you just said, not towards how I feel. I spent 15 years in education, worked in private schools. It should not be the job of the district to figure out the dollar amount that somebody's child needs for the proper education. It should fall on the state of New Jersey.
So should it fall on the parents then?
No, I should say that. It should fall on the state.
Thank you.
Yeah. Unfortunately, our state doesn't support public education, and they certainly aren't supporting our students with special needs. That should come from the state. It doesn't matter if it costs $300,000 per student, like you said. If that's what that student needs, that's what that student needs to succeed.
Thank you.
And we absolutely agree with you. I said what you said was beautiful.
I have a question, we've gone through this before. What is the poverty or at-risk level for our district right now? Is it the same as the reduced lunch number? So there is, it says, one of the statutes for New Jersey is that if we have a district with 40% or more at-risk students, then we must cap the classroom sizes. So would we be out of compliance with that, being that we are over the 40% cap?
I'm not familiar with the statute. And I don't know if that's specific to Title I schools that receive, significant federal funding. I would have to review it.
I can give you the statute.
Sure.
I'm just doing a Googling search, so. There's NJAC 6A 14 through 4.7.
Say that again, 4.7?
4.7. And then, I didn't look it up, but what is the fire code rules as well with these classrooms? Because our classes sizes are getting bigger, but some of our classes are very small. And I know in the past it's been an issue with, the actual, so what is the actual code for,
Depends on the square footage of the classroom, but we would have to review that and then determine, what furniture needs to be removed. I know, for instance, in some of our larger classrooms this year, we swapped out, they had slightly larger desks in sixth grade. We swapped those out for smaller desks.
Smaller desks for bigger kids.
And is there a way that somebody can make a list of people we can contact for the state? I feel like if we could all rally, if we knew who to contact, give us a list of a bunch of people, and then we could blast it on Facebook or online, and then we could all harass whoever we need to harass, because it's getting old, and nothing's getting done.
We are in the process of drafting a letter that will be available on our website.
or something, because I don't think a lot of people see the website. I feel like
Sure,
if we got enough people like understanding and agitated enough, they will do something. So.
Yeah, we should have a conversation.
Hi, my name is Michaela Callahan and I'm in fourth grade. I want to say that I love all the teachers, but I don't think it's a good idea that we're combining our classes. Some kids can get sick because they are too crowded, and some kids won't be able to win prizes, and some kids might be, you have to buy a lot of prizes because there might be a lot of kids winning the prizes at the end of the trimester celebration, and it might be hard for the teachers to teach. It also may be harder for the lunch aides to make a lot of food for the classes, because if there's a lot of kids in one class, then they're going to have to make a lot of food for just one class. So when if you are making the classes bigger, just be careful so you don't make it too bad, and there will be consequences when you make the classes bigger.
Thank you very much, Victoria.
Hi, our names are Michaela and Hi, our names are Will, Michaela, and Amelia, Adelina, and Addie. We are here to talk about combining up the classes. We don't want teachers to go. Before we start, we need to say that we love all our teachers and aides, and they help us learn, do great things, and keep us safe. So it would be a shame if some had to go. We really do. We really want them to go. We will cry if they do. Literally. So people could get sick easier. Less people could get permanent.
You really got to bring on.
And some people who need help may not get all help. Also, may get they might not get enough help. That is why we don't want to get our classes combined. We understand the situation, but please, we're begging you. You guys can start a fundraiser, and everyone could get one can. And also, if we do two classes per grade, if some other people join other schools, our school, it will be mainly people, and also the people that are going now, they going to work? Where are they? The people that are gonna go, where are they gonna work? They will be probably sad. And that's it.
for having the courage and the professionalism to come up and speak before the board, which is not easy to do. So we heard you, girls, and we want to thank you very much for getting up and speaking to us. Thank you. Next.
I can go through that. Ashley Ernest 12 Stevenson Street. Mr. Burns, I was sad to see your resignation on the agenda this evening. I just wanted to thank you for all you've done. I was going to ask about the position, but that question's been answered. I did have a question about the tuition adjustment. If we do receive, so we paid, it looked like about $1,000 less per pupil than last year, so we're probably looking at a tuition adjustment. Am I correct to say that the numbers up there could be even worse if we receive that information?
It could be better. Like I said, Southern could get out of the state plan and we can save a bunch of money. So I do feel there will be a tuition adjustment based on which pupil costs. How much is it's a little hard to determine at this point.
Okay. Are we able to specify this time which positions are being cut to part-time? Okay, so those are my questions, and I just wanted to make some comments. So as a parent of 3 children in this district, I'm deeply concerned about the growing class sizes, over 30 students next year, the continued decline in resources. More so, I'm concerned for the future of our schools in our town because this obviously is not sustainable. While the state's funding formula has created real challenges, and as Mr. Burns described it as despicable, it's not enough to simply place blame year after year without taking meaningful action. I ask each board member to reflect on why you chose to serve. If you chose to serve on this board to support the children of this community and you value their education, then what concrete steps have you taken to address the crisis? Recently, you interviewed candidates to fill a seat on this board. I sat through all 3 of the interviews. There was one candidate that spoke in depth about the funding formula out of the 3. That one candidate also was the only candidate that had ideas and strategies and things to offer moving forward. Somewhat of a plan, and he offered experience as well that I thought would be really valuable. We chose not to appoint that candidate, and I wish that more people were there to hear the 3 interviews. Ms. Phillips said that you all have a letter in your packet this evening for how to take action moving forward. Thank you, Ms. Phillips, for providing the board with that, because I think it's really important. Okay, thank you for taking the time to draft that, because that's obviously outside of your normal superintendent and principal responsibilities. So I really appreciate you taking the time to do that, although I do feel that the members of the board do need to be held accountable, and I would like to know, maybe not now, but over the last 8+ years of S2, we're getting a packet now with information for how to take action, but what action has been taken year after year, other than blaming the state. You all have an ethical responsibility to make decisions in the best interests of our students, and in this climate, that means taking that meaningful action to advocate for our town, seeking ideas and assistance from the Township Committee, organizing community members, thinking outside the box, and exploring every possible option. So I would encourage all of our board members, if you're here to serve the children and our community and value your schools as much as everyone here does, I hope that you'll take that action moving forward. I also wanted to point out that there's a lot of parents here tonight, there's a lot of other community members that don't have children in the schools, and I just think it speaks a lot for how much the schools are in the heart of all of us, because there's several parents here that communicated about the board meeting that they're not gonna even have kids in the schools anymore. Like their youngest are in 6th grade right now, and they're sending them off to Southern, yet they still live here, care about our town, care about our schools, and made a point to get the message out there that we're having a board meeting tonight, even come and record it for other people to be able to be informed. So I want to speak that it's really meaningful and it tugs at our heartstrings. So also, I want to brag a little bit because those girls are all my Girl Scouts. And they're selling cookies, if anyone needs German butcher tomorrow, Saturday. And you're Sunday by the Lazy Lake, so go do a drive-through on Sunday and shop right on April 12th. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Benson. Okay,
I'm Grace Lamar, I live at 85 Walnut Avenue. I'd just like to ask, what are we doing to really inform the people of this community? If someone hadn't told me this, I would have no idea what's going on with the budget issue and the increase in our taxes. And what are we doing to get the community a little angry, maybe to contact Trent, to inform them, of the impact of the loss of funds? And what are we doing to let us know, we the regular folk who don't have children in the schools, of what's going on? Because I feel at a loss. I don't see anything out publicly. We were to, have the township send out the emails, whatever they use, to tell everybody about the budget hearing on the 30th. Is that, are you going to do that?
The township does post our Board of Education calendar on their website.
Well, this is a big issue. I mean, I think it's important that we get the community know what's going on. So you're gonna have a lot of angry people if they don't totally understand what the problem is.
Sure. Once the tentative budget is approved, which occurred this evening, I'll be corresponding with our district, with our parents, to notify them of upcoming changes. Again, we are waiting to determine whether or not we're going to receive that deferral, and that will certainly impact how the final budget, would shake out. We do advertise our final budget hearing. We advertise it on the board up front. We advertise it on our website, the township website, the newspaper.
Well, it'd be nice if you used debate, whatever the emails that they send out townwide. The township notifies them, the book sale, it notifies them what the historical society is doing. It'd be nice if you were more incorporated so that we, the people of the community, had more information and more knowledge of what's going on here. And I think it would save you a lot of hassles of people getting angry, going, what, if they had a better understanding. That's all. And thank you for your service.
thank you very much for your time.
Very well said. I agree.
I'm not sitting here taking what they hand out to us. I mean, way for years, way before I was on the board, going back to the start of S2, Chris Christie, and I know his father, we have been writing letters, we have been doing things. It's not like it's just literally not been signing, this is not good. I have it on, but, like I said, way before I was on the board, going back to Chris Christie and the start of it. I've been vocal, I've been writing letters, I know other people have too, so it's not as though we just literally have been sitting here taking what they've handed out to us. This has not been fun for any of us. I am here for the children, I've worked here for the children, and I will do anything for the children. It's not, I don't know anybody sitting here that has just sat back and not tried whatever they could.
I think one of the issues is that unless you're, and it's true, I've been on the board for many, many years, and that seems, and I made the statement before that for myself, it's always been disheartening. I've been a member of this community for well over 30 years. My children are a product of the school district, and my intention was always to keep things the way it was because my children flourished. And I can tell you that the Board of Education has very little power when you have the governor of the state of New Jersey as your boss. They dictate what will be done. We have no say in it. I can't tell you how many times I stopped over on that Lacey Road to speak with Mr. Amato and Mr. Rump, and I sent more emails than I cared to, and I've been in their office more times than I want to. Now they're on Lacey Road, right behind Southern Regional Middle School, and I will tell you that the answer is cricket, cricket. I've invited them more times than I care to tell you. Please come and speak with the people. I've asked them to come and write letters.
Isn't it on Lacey Road behind Southern?
Response. Tom's River, New Jersey had a trolley. They got all the students together, all the teachers, and they provided buses, and it cost them money they didn't have, and they brought them down to Trenton, and they had rallies. They said, hey, you've got to fund our schools. Nothing happened. It's not as if we're sitting up here and we're not having ideas and we're not talking about consolidation. What the problem is that we have no control. What happens is that the state of New Jersey comes around in these states and says, hey, guess what? We're going to give you so much money. Wait a minute, we're just going to cap it. And then we're going to give North New Jersey $1.4 billion. Because you know what? They can spend $44,000 on catering. We can't buy $44,000 to keep a teacher. So the formula is not given to anybody. The formula is flawed. And so the state of New Jersey plays politics with our students. We're here for the kids. Nobody on this board wants 30 kids in a classroom. But the state of New Jersey says to us, you have to present a budget. And wait a minute, and if you can't present the budget, we're not going to tell you how to do it. We're not going to give you any advice. And then they changed the rules, and then they changed the law. And then we came before you, and we said, here's our budget. And everybody was like, okay, let me tell you something about this community. This community rallied around these kids. This community said, I was the one that said, no more taxes, I'm going to go on that. And I saw the parents come up here and say, that's only $28 more a month, or whatever it was. And I was so taken back by that. And I thought, this community is keeping our students educated. It's not the state. It's you. And it's very disheartening to come before you and say constantly, give me more, give me more. How much more can you take? I will have news for you. This is the way the state of New Jersey is funding our public schools. They're not interested. Okay? They're not. Nothing's changed in the 8 years. Mr. Clark, you and I have been the senior members on here. Okay? Have we ever had the state, has anybody ever come before our board and said to us, you're absolutely right. We're going to give you a couple more dollars to keep one teacher. Because I'm going to tell you something. If we don't have a teaching staff, we don't have an education. But the state says you need a thorough and efficient education. We can't provide it. Not when you're bankrupt. How does having 30 kids in a class provide a thorough and efficient education? I'll tell you what the state does. The state has a car. And it has no wheels on it. It doesn't go anywhere. And they say, well, you know what? If we paint it red, it might go somewhere. Now let's paint it blue. Let's put those little nice, flashing lights on them. It doesn't go anywhere, okay? What we need is a state that says we are investing in our future and we are investing in our public schools. And we as a board come up here and we sit here and we rack our brains night after night, meeting after meeting, saying, what can we do? They're not listening. They're not responding. They don't care. And I got news for you. We, if you saw Mr. Burke's chart, are the third. We've got a look behind us. We've got Lakehurst and what was it? We're not setting the, listen, I don't want to see anybody paying one more dollar, but we're not setting the record, okay, as being the most expensive. And the state of New Jersey comes to us and says, you're not paying enough. We're not paying enough. We've got a whole population of people who don't even have kids in the building. There's kids in the building. And yet they supported us. So we have to be very proud of what we've done. We don't have the answers because basically we have no power. And I wanted to be on this board for a long time to say, let's give those kids in the theater the microphones that they need. Let's build the programs and spend $100,000 on our highly gifted kids. We have to spend money on those that need it the most, and nobody's denying that. But what about the top of the line too? We can't even do that. And the frustration goes on and on and on. So I really want to say that the only reason why we are here is because of you. And when you come up and you give us ideas, we say, okay, but we've already thought of that. Yeah, we've done that too. I've got that one too. Yeah, we got it. There's nothing when you have somebody that refuses to give you enough money to staff your school. Want to talk about part-time? We're struggling to get part-time custodians. How many part-timers do you want before it becomes egregious? How many more people are we going to cut from the payroll that says, I've given this district 20 years of my time. Now you're going to cut my position. Now you're going to cut me to part-time. How do you think that makes us feel? We're sitting here looking at the faces of these babies that come up and talk to us, and we're taking it apart. We don't take it lightly. Okay? There's no power. Okay? There's no power. We have no magic power. We don't go to the state and say, we're going to do this. They say to us, nope. And then when I say to poor Mrs. Phillips, and I'm on the phone with her at 12 o'clock at night saying, if we don't pass the budget, what happens? And Mrs. Phillips says, yeah, I'm not really sure they could take my certificate. Well, we certainly don't want that. And don't think that they won't. Okay?
okay? So we have a lot of, I'm getting impassioned because I, quite frankly, for the many years I've been on this board, have been nothing but the same circle of life. And I really want to be up here to be able to say, we did pretty good. We got those programs going. Look what we did to the beautiful building. Look at the grounds we created. Look at the programs we created for these kids. Because this is our future. And we're constantly being taught. And it's not a lot of fun. We don't get paid. We do not get paid. Okay? There's no special anything here. We're here because we love our community and we want to see the faces of those children. And when I look in the faces of those children, you know what I see in the future? Those are the kids, those are our scientists, those are our doctors. Those are the ones that are going to take care of me in the nursing home. And I look at them and I say, you deserve the best. Because I had it, you had it, you had it, and you had it. But they're not going to have it? That's completely unfair. And it's not fair to our children, and it's certainly not fair to the board, because we don't have any power to do anything but listen to the dictate from the state of New Jersey.
Thanks.
My passion, but
I would like to, I'll be very quick, I would like to remind people that in the last 2 years, we had the option to keep the status quo, cut positions, or raise taxes. We faced public scrutiny both times. Everybody on this board, cost Mr. Pitt's seat, raised taxes both times. So say we haven't done anything, incorrect. The other thing, reach out to the town committee. I'd like to remind people that when we did raise taxes, the township committee published on their site that tax assessments had not come out yet because the school board chose to raise taxes 9.9%. So to come up here and say we haven't done anything, to me, is insulting. And there's elections every November. Anybody has the opportunity for the town of River, put your name, run, and get my seat.
And I have to say that I thought it was rather egregious of the township to say that the average house in Waretown is almost $500,000. It's crazy. So, it's just, and then they base all of that on that. So it's really not fair. Yes. Okay, any more?
Good evening, I just want to kind of, on that last point, I want to be clear for myself at least, that when we as community members are coming up here and asking questions or asking for more information, that is not by any means an attack on any individual member or the board.
You should ask questions.
I repeat, that is our duty as community members, as taxpayers, and as parents. So those questions are not an attack. That's not a you did nothing. And I think what we're asking for now is, we understand as individuals, you have contacted your legislators, you have asked the questions, you've done things on your own, but what we're asking for is a collaborative effort, an organized effort on behalf of our community, and that may mean linking up with other communities in our exact same situation, because our financial issues are not unique to our community. This is happening everywhere across the state. I think I said last year it was like 218 counties or municipalities that were also facing, the underfunded budget. I would also like to point out, previously there was a discussion about what happened in 2018 with the S2 and with S2, and the narrative was supposedly that we were losing students, but that wasn't the narrative. The state said that we were losing our aid because we were underfunded. And I think that's a point that really needs to be driven home, because that's not just on the Board of Ed. That is also on our committee, that is on the state. They're saying that we're underfunded. It's not our lack of enrollment, we were underfunded. We weren't paying enough in our taxes, and that's why we have to make up this huge amount. Now, am I saying that the formula that they based this on is correct, or that I agree with it? No, but it didn't just come out of nowhere. We were kind of had a Band-Aid because of COVID funds. So I think we just need to be honest about where that problem started, and I think a lot of people like to blame it on this administration or that administration. This has been going on since 2008. So I think that's something that we just need to take into consideration. And also I think that something important to look at is we often say that we're a K-6 district. We're not a K-6 district. We have our buildings house K-6 students, but we fund the education of preschool through 12th grade. And that takes up the high school budget, or 7th through 12th grade, I should say, is 40% of our budget. That's 40% of our budget that we're paying for just a service. So we're not paying for maintenance of buildings, we're not paying for assets, we're only paying essentially for a service, for them to educate our students. I will make a few other points and then have some questions, and again, I don't expect them to be answered this evening, but I would also like to implore the board to potentially have a public forum, a question and answer session, because I do think a lot of times our questions are limited by 5 minutes and I think as a previous community member pointed out, the message isn't out there. And each time we have one of these budget scares, you know, the only thing that half of our residents are hearing is, we need more money, we need more money. They're not understanding where that's coming from or why. You know, there's been a huge, it's mismanagement of the board, but not the entire state is mismanaging, every board of education is not mismanaging their funds. And that is not understood by a lot of our residents. So I think the public information session would be really important for the community. Mr. Burns, I know that the feeling may not be mutual, but I would like to say that I really appreciate what you've given to our community. I know you probably look when I'm coming and you're like, she's coming again, but I really appreciate what you've done, and I think this also speaks to one of the issues that we're having, that we're losing good people. And a few weeks ago, Mr. Burns, I was here at softball on a Saturday morning, and Mr. Burns had a shovel and was cleaning up our sidewalks from our geese problem. And I just really think that speaks volumes about the people that work and that give their time to our community. And these are the same people that are leaving because we're not paying them adequately. We're not paying them their worth. They're willing to go above and beyond. And Mr. Burns, thank you again. And this goes for so many of our staff members. This goes for our paras that I don't know how they do it. I don't know how you go out and do what you do every day and take care of our students with the care and concern that you do for what we are offering in payment. So thank you, Mr. Burns, and again, I think that speaks to a larger issue. Obviously, this is a structural issue. I think, again, we all recognize this. This is not just a one-time issue, but it's a structural issue. It's a year after year, same scenario, and it's just not sustainable. As I noted, I believe that we need to take local action, and that needs to be collaborative. Mr. Burns, in your presentation, you said that this is just a proposed budget and that anything can change by April 30th, I think it was, by April 30th. I obviously know that you're leaving around that time, so that makes things probably a little dicey here. But I was wondering what those potential changes could be. Is there anything that we are looking at that, that could increase or decrease what we're looking at in terms of budget? And specifically, can those potential changes offer any relief for class sizes for teachers?
It's all really a lot of just talk. Like I had a conversation with the Ocean County Business Administrator. He mentioned something about a possible tuition adjustment, like enrollment adjustment, health benefit adjustment. But if something's going to happen, it probably have to happen legislatively, and that can be slow. I don't know if it was the first year here, I think there was some legislation done, and we had to come back to work on the budget. I don't know if it was June. So it can move pretty slow. We're hoping.
There's nothing specific on the horizon, there's just potential for it.
There is potential that exists in the deferral request that we need to Southern for $317,000 should be received.
But we're gonna pay that next
Still a
year,
loan.
the next year.
It's a loan.
And we're gonna still have these problems in that.
It's a loan. But should not be granted, that will edit some of our staff.
And kick the problems further down. High impact tutoring, I know that's something that the governor made changes to or was supplying money for in the proposed budget for the state. I see that we applied for the grant, it has not yet been approved, and I was just wondering what grades would the high impact tutoring impact? Who is that planned for? Is that just the COVID kid group? I know that's kind of was their idea, was supposed to relieve some of the detriment that COVID how that had affected the learning abilities of students, but is that planned for K through 6, or is that for specific grades in our district?
Specifically, now the grant services 3 through 6, and that's what we've written for. We participated in cohort 1, which gave us about $76,000, and then there was a slight adjustment to the positive, the year following. This year, I believe the allotment is about $40,000. The way that we structured that grant, that is for, students, in need. So it may be students that are receiving basic skill services, students that are receiving special services, multilingual learners, but students that are falling below, district benchmark standards.
Okay, essentially I was just asking currently, are they being pulled out of special inclusion? Will not provide any relief for classroom?
That will be provided for an after school.
In terms of advocacy, I guess one of my questions, and again, this is not to say nothing has been done, but one of my questions would be, what or who have we contacted? What has been asked? What has been offered? And again, I'm not asking for an answer tonight, but essentially, what county officials, state legislators, what are we advocating for? Are we asking for funding adjustments, or are we asking for sending district considerations? I believe that there has been some, but very limited, communication with the county superintendent, and I mean, I think it's my belief that the state is trying to force consolidation, and again, while our financial situation is not, unique, I do think that our structure of our school district is a little bit nuanced in the fact that we skip over a town to send to another district. And what does that mean for us in terms of consolidation? Who can we consolidate with? Again, something that comes up for me is there a potential to consolidate? I know we often talk about it at the lower level, but we already are a sending district for Southern. And there's potential that our tax rate could essentially be changed if we were a constituent district for Southern, like Stafford is, like LBI is. How our tax payment is formulated would be based off renewals for the town, and we would no longer be per pupil tuition, and it would be based on, that's how Stafford, their bills are laid out. They have a Stafford portion, and then they have a Southern portion. Same thing with Long Beach Island. And I believe, as Chris mentioned before, I guess one of the concerns for me, in both, again, as everybody said, there's really no good answer, but one of the concerns for me would be if we don't regionalize, that LBI has written to, I believe it's the Department of Education Commissioner, and yeah, the Department of Education Commissioner, it came from the Joint Council of the Taxpayer Associations on LBI, so they formed a group, and the statement was in the same paper article by Mayor Hodgson from Surf City, whose son is a Superior Court judge, so I feel like this has probably been vetted. His statement was, some legal opinions have indicated that in the absence of a valid documented agreement, there is no binding obligation requiring Long Beach Island communities to remain in the district under the current terms. This raises the important questions about both legitimacy and the continuation of the existing structure. So let's say Long Beach Island says, hey, we no longer want to be a constituent district because we don't have an agreement, there's no formal agreement in place, we don't need to do that, and they say we would prefer to be a sending district. And then their 200 students, which they're paying 80% of Southern's budget, they're just basing that on their tuition. The tuition for everybody else is going to have to go up. If you take 80% of Southern's budget, and that's only shouldered by, let's say, us and our tuition payment in Stafford. I mean, Stafford's obviously tax rate is going to skyrocket, but that's also going to affect the per pupil tuition cost. And Long Beach Island isn't going to care, because even if they send 200 students and the tuition payment is $50,000, that's going to be a whole heck of a lot less than they're paying now. I think the figure that they're paying is like $36 million, maybe even higher than that. But they're $36 million per year. They total just 8% of the students, but 80% of the district's revenue. So how does that affect us? And is there a possibility if we regionalize now that maybe we all collaboratively say, hey, Long Beach Island, if you redo, a feasibility study, there's potentially pay more. What if we all come together and work on regionalization now and come up with a fair number for each town that has students in regionalization? I recognize that affects our enrollment numbers for K through 6, our district truly becomes a K through 6 district, and that could potentially affect state funding for that district, being that we have a lot less, but are these things that we're exploring? Because again, Long Beach Island is addressing this with the state, and if we're, I'm not saying we're just doing nothing, but if we're sitting back waiting and saying, well, we don't know, how does that affect us? Do we just get into, we don't have a high school, we don't have another high school to choose, right? What would be the action? What is the contingency plan if something like that should happen? So I guess that kind of leads into what is our long-term plan? Again, this is happening year after year after year. Do we have any ideas on how to prevent this, or are we gonna just keep band-aiding until it's unsustainable? And then if it becomes unsustainable, right, the state's gonna come in and say, these are your taxes, this is your tax increase, you don't have the option here. They'll send in a state monitor to the tune of whatever we have to pay them a year, and then we lose autonomy over what we actually can do. They may say, no, you're going to Lacey, that makes the most sense. We don't have a choice where if the state comes in and makes those decisions for us, we are completely out of loss of control. So does the board have any long-term plan? Is there like a 5-year plan, or is it just we don't know what to do because we don't know what to do because nobody's giving us that information? And if that's the answer, fine, I just wondering. And then I guess my last question would be, what's plan B? Do we have any look at, okay, that happens, like, what do we do? Is there anything? So, again, this is by no means an attack on anyone here, or, you're not doing the job. It's just, do we have ideas, and at what point do we explore even the most ridiculous options? Again, I think that we have an amazing community, we have amazing students, we have amazing staff, and it really is incredible to me that some of our staff sticks around and keeps taking this year after year. I can't imagine how they feel going to staff meetings at the end of every spring and saying, somebody's losing their job. You're going to a different classroom this year. I don't really think that's fair to our staff, and I don't think it's fair to the students. And I think the number Ms. Phillips gave previously was that the enrollment number for kindergarten this year was 82. If we are going down to 2 grade levels, that is not the 36, 37 students I thought could potentially be in a classroom. That's more than that. I mean, I'm sure that's probably the full number, not just mainstream, but that's absurd to think that students can learn in that environment. And I know as a parent of a student who struggles with distractions in a class of 19, that would have an incredibly detrimental effect on her, and not just my child, but for our students as a whole. And then going to Southern, where does that put our kids? So I hope that you take these into consideration, and again, I would hope that the board would be potentially open to maybe a community information session in the future, because if there is only this small group of us, which usually it's only a few of us at board event meetings, but even if it's this small group, we're not going to get anywhere in encouraging change or asking for change within the state. And I think that, at this point, we really need to work collaboratively and put together, some organization and actionable steps to make a change for our students and for our community.
Thank you very much. Let's close the public forum. Motion, please.
If I didn't use my 5 minutes, can I get back up?
I'm sorry?
If I didn't use my 5 minutes, can I get
Oh,
back up?
just for the record, I've never
You have mine.
indicated for 5 minutes.
You have my 5 minutes. You have Laura's too.
I just wanted to echo what Kate said, that I don't think as community members and people who come to every board meeting, that coming up here and asking what the board has done is accusing the board of doing nothing. And I know for a fact from coming to meetings what some of you have done for the district and for our kids, and I see you at the events, and I see you putting in the time. So when I come up here and ask, or when anyone comes up here and says, specifically because I actually read from my notes, I said, what concrete steps have been taken to address the crisis? That is not an accusation of anyone doing nothing, and I didn't hear anyone tonight accuse any board members of doing nothing. It is simply a question. And it goes along with the other member who got up and said that the community is not informed. And if I am coming to as many board meetings as I have, and I don't know what actions have been taken, if I'm not informed, and I come to every meeting, how is anyone else informed?
Yeah.
So I come to every meeting and I don't know what you have done to advocate. I don't know if you've called Ben McCarroll or Lydia Dodd or anyone on the committee. I don't know any of that. So maybe if we're informed, then I don't have to get up and ask what you've done, and then have some people get on the defensive thinking they're being accused of doing nothing. No one accused anyone of doing nothing. You come here and you work hard, and I'm sure it hurts you just as much as it's hurting us. You know, and some of you have kids in the district. So I just wanted to say that. I don't think anyone has been accused of doing nothing. I think it's fair for us to come up and say that we should hold board members accountable and ask what has been done. And I think, and some of you did vote no last year. So some of you lost their seat for voting yes, but some did vote no. Okay? So I just wanted to say that. Thank you.
You can have my 5.
I'll just pause.
Go right ahead.
The only thing I was gonna say is, in a spirit of trying to move that conversation forward, because to Kate's point, I think at this point, the organization needs to be taken to a larger scale. If the board hasn't considered doing working groups within the community to assist, you guys are volunteers and you have a tremendous burden that you've been dealing with. There's people in the community who are willing to try to support you and to try to bring those ideas, do some of the legwork that's needed to organize. I just ask that you consider putting together some working groups to help bring people from the community that can help spread the message, that can help advocate, organize, that can have, we have people in this community that are teachers in other districts that are involved, you know people at Lacey, they know people in Little Egg. We're all being impacted by this. We've seen news articles. Lacey seems to make the news a lot for what's going on in Lacey and the next town over. We need to start collaborating on sort of outside of Waretown, because this issue is bigger than Waretown. Yes, it affects all of our taxes, but we're not the only ones going through this meeting. There's power in numbers. Waretown is a small district. The state does not want small districts. They are trying to eliminate them. It's up to us to bring the message of why we are good, why we're not wasting money, we're not wasting taxpayer money, we're not, you know, this little district, little fiefdom that just takes everybody's money. We need to organize to get that message to try, you know, in a meaningful way that actually moves the needle. I've talked to legislators, I've talked to lobbyists that are, you know, I'm involved in other things. This issue is not getting enough traction, especially with the administration change. It is very much what Mr. Burns said. They took a hiatus on this issue because it is radioactive, and it's been radioactive for 30 years, going back to the Matt Lowell decision. This is radioactive, so nobody wants to touch it. They figured, okay, Murphy took care of it, we're gonna deal with it for now. It's gonna take the community going, hell no, right? So my only suggestion is, it's really hard for you guys to do that on your own. Consider bringing people in to help. That's all I'm asking, I'm suggesting.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, I'd just like to say, please, a couple words. I live in Greenbrier. I make sure that Greenbrier does know what's going on. Notices go out. There was an email blast out this week talking about that we were having a preliminary budget meeting. I make sure all information is going out. You have a resident sitting there right there, and he knows what I put out into Greenbrier for 1,400 homes. I'm trying to do my part in Greenbrier. I'm not the township. The other thing I want to mention, Chris did an outstanding job. We had the vacancy on this board. We listened to the candidates, did an outstanding job during his interview, and so did Mr. Penn. He's had over 2 years' experience on this board. He has done an outstanding job. And it was a very difficult decision to make, and we decided to appoint Mr. Pim again. So he has a lot of knowledge serving on this board. And like I said, Chris did an outstanding job during the interview, and it was difficult for us. We didn't have 2 positions to fill. This is a 1-year position. It will be up come November. Who decides to run for that? I don't know, but there was a third one, and it was a difficult position to decide. So Mr. Pym has a lot to offer as a board member. He's had the experience. So, you know, I just want everyone to know out there, it was difficult, but it was also, you know, we wish we could have placed both Chris and him on this board. So I just want to just put that out there. Thank you.
Okay. Seeing that there is, I need a motion, please.
Put you up to that. I did not put you up to that.
Thank you. Thank you. We're not close to public forum. Roll call, please.
Yeah, you're supposed to warn me so I could like, run to the bathroom.
I thought I was.
Yes, as for this patient, move to regular meeting schedule for Tuesday.
You know me, always,